it's Michael. God is a game of the divine. In order for there to be the role of God, which God means the creator, the absolute source of existence, God the parent, God the Father. So in order for there to be a role of God, there has to be some creation, some subjects, some children. Otherwise, God being God to itself would make no sense, obviously. Yet it is said by serious, verified spiritual texts such as the Upanishads and enlightened people that in absolute reality there is nothing but the source of existence, the divine presence, beingness, also called the self with capital S. So how does that chime? The Upanishads also say that before the existence was created, the self, the source of the existence, already was and meditated on how to go on about creating existence, and then created the existence, then projected it, imagined it, whatever you want to call it. This also agrees with the Genesis in the Bible that says that in the beginning there was a light, there was the Word of God, something in that sense. I don't remember now the exact wording, but in that spirit. So in this slide, where does existence come from? Where do we come from? And of course the answer is that it is all imagined, it is all projected. Projected may not be the most descriptive word, because when we say projected where? And the where doesn't make sense because there is no where. There is only the source of existence, the self, and that's it. So existence is imagined or projected within the divine mind. All that is within existence is happening within the divine mind. Now, perhaps to understand this better, or to look at it from a slightly different perspective, imagine this. Imagine that before all the existence was created, there was emptiness, and actually there still is emptiness. That's the absolute reality. Emptiness, not nothingness, not void, it's emptiness. There is no space, no time, so no reference point. So the best probably that it can be called in human language is emptiness. Yet this emptiness is ultimately alive, it is aware, and it is what we call the divine presence, the presence out of which existence arose, or which imagined the existence. The human mind, because it thinks in linear terms, may have difficulty imagining an emptiness that is ultimately alive, yet completely devoid of references of space and time. yet consider this: if there would be some reference point, time-wise, space-wise, it would indicate limitation, because the reference point is within the context of something, so the ultimate source cannot exist within the context of something, because then it wouldn't be the ultimate source. The divine presence, or God, is said to be all-powerful, all-present, and all-knowing. If there would be some context to it, some reference point to it, then it could not be all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-present, because there would have to be something else providing a context for the reference point. And we are told that actually it is this source, the self, that is the context, the absolute context for the imagined existence. So an absolute emptiness was the prerequisite for existence to be manifested. If there would be something else in whatever way or shape, then the existence would be limited, and God couldn't be all-powerful, because there would be something else in reference to it, and couldn't be all-present, and a limited existence would have an expiration date, would be imperfect, would be limited, and would eventually self-destruct, or whatever you want to call it, would have an expiration date. Alright? So this then establishes the absoluteness of the self. Now, when the human mind hears about absolute self, about absolute God, and that all this is imagined, created, it may have difficulty processing it, believing it, or accepting it. And it may even say, well, this feels, fall down and hit my nose on the ground, it bleeds, it hurts like crazy, and so on. It feels real, so it must be real. Well, it feels real because it's within the imagined fantasy, divine fantasy. Yet, if it would be looked at from the outside, so to speak, there is no outside, but just symbolically speaking, from the outside of existence, from beyond the existence, from the point of the self, then it is all pretended. Just like, let's go through an imagination exercise. So I will ask you to imagine something, and as a prerequisite for imagining it, your mind must be empty. Your mind must be completely empty for you to imagine something. If there is a thought scooting around in your head, then you cannot imagine anything, because the thought is in the way, right? So the emptiness of your mind is a prerequisite. And yet, even though your mind is empty, you are aware and you are very alive, right? So in principle the same as the self. So empty your mind and imagine people playing on the beach, playing with a beach ball, or swimming in an ocean and having a great time. Okay? Now play around with that fantasy, And now imagine going to the people and asking them, is this real? Are you real? Are you created? Or how did you come into being? Imagine asking them and imagine what they would answer. What could they answer under those circumstances? Right? Sounds familiar? Sounds familiar. So, in principle, you have created the same as the self, the creator, God, has created in its divine imagination. Now, of course, the human mind is limited, as already mentioned, it is linear, and it can track only one thing at a time. So when you imagine a dream, you can track only one thing or a couple of things at a time. You cannot really multitask, while the divine mind is omnitasking. It tracks everything, always, is aware of everything, which the human mind cannot comprehend, which is fine. We don't have to comprehend it. We just have to accept it and trust that this is so, because it's obvious that it is so. Alright? So, why is this important? This is not a philosophical talk. This is an existential talk or subject. It's important to understand it because out of this comes, who are you? Out of this comes, who are you? And if you answer, I'm a pretended thing, then that's kind of incorrect. Yes, your form is pretended, is imagined, your body, mind, soul are pretended, yet your essence, the aliveness, the presence, which is there, you are present, you are alive, you are aware, right? That is not imagined. That is real, that is absolutely real, and that is the true self, your true you, that's who you truly are. But then of course it's not you, it is the wholeness, the allness, as enlightened people say, the allness. Okay, that is extremely important to understand, because the mind very easily falls into duality of me here, God there, or God somewhere, and this is the major stumbling block in spiritual evolvement, and you are here to spiritually evolve. So there is no duality, there is a continuum. As David Hawkins says, the self, the source, the creator is everything. So there is no separation between existence and the creator. The self is the existence and beyond. As it is said, when the existence stops being, stops existing, then the self is still there always, and it is the true you. And not only this dissolves the duality of me here, you there, if it is understood and accepted, but also out of it comes a great respect for the sacredness of life, for the wholeness of life. And yes, all of it, including what we call so-called evil, is within existence, belongs with its existence, yet not all of it expresses the Creator's qualities. Creator's qualities, as it's been said, are love, joy, bliss, peace, good humor, and so on. So things like violence and taking advantage of others and what we call unspeakable evil, they are within existence. They also have this, in a way, a source in the Creator, in the sense they are allowed to exist, but they don't represent divine qualities. Okay, so that's all for this talk. If there are any questions and comments, they can be left below the video. Wishing you a healthy and joyful life. Michael out.